Hello and welcome to BQ Pramani Dadia. Overall, in terms of where markets are concerned, clearly we've erased early losses and trading pretty much flat in today's session. Capital good counters are in focus in today's session as well. However, there is selling seen in IT, metals, realty, as well as a lot of pharma names. Joining us to discuss the movers and shakers in trade today, we have Sharmila Joshi joining in. Sharmila, welcome to the show. A very good morning and a happy Women's Day to you and all the women around as well.
Yeah, good morning. And as you said, happy Women's Day to all our women watchers and to you, of course.
Thank you so much. Sharmila, to start off with, we have two pharma names that are in focus, which is Ajanta Pharma as well as a Natco Pharma, and both of these in terms of mulling a share buyback. What's your view and what would you advise an investor to do if a buyback is announced?
I think buyback should always be viewed positively. And, given the fact that we are seeing buyback in pharma names, that becomes sort of even more special, significant because, pharma hasn't had the best run as the tailwind of that pandemic gave them. We've not really seen pharma names do all that well over the last year and a half. Yes, and I think in that sense, both are very different players, and I think both have one thing in common, other than the fact that there's a buyback. Their last quarter numbers have not been that impressive. Having said that, they are in that sense, their business models are different. With Ajanta, you have sort of more branded formulations and more of a domestic play, whereas Natco is known for more complex generics and so they've got kind of they're more risky in that sense. So I think it really depends on what kind of view you want to take of your investment horizon and really how much you understand what's happening in the space, because it is a complex space to be in. Between the two names, if you ask me, I prefer Ajanta Pharma, but then as I said, it's really the risk appetite of the investor.
Right, so that's with regards to pharma names. Moving on, Z Entertainment is in focus today. In fact, the stock did open gap up. However, the gains have cooled off right now, and it's been a pretty volatile ride for the counter over the last 5 to 6 trading sessions, mainly on the back of a couple of issues that we were seeing. Now they've gone ahead and settled the dispute with IPRS, and the insolvency petition has been withdrawn as well by the artist body. What do you make of a Z Entertainment, and taking the business prospects into consideration, do you think a good time to invest?
Well, one was, of course, this whole insolvency issue, which has been the latest sort of drag on the stock. But really, honestly, the real positive sort of news flow for Z over the last year and a half has been the fact that Sony has shown interest. And, they're going through the procedure of doing that merger. Having said that, really also, I am not too positive on GEC as a space, because, I do think that given the kind of market share OTT has taken from GC, as well as how that business model, the way it operates in India at this point in time, suffered when there was a lockdown, and suddenly you had a very limited library of shows that you could really air. So I think all these things I think that they're going to have to reimagine their future, and they are doing it. They have built their sort of platforms on their online platforms to have that kind of an offering. But in terms of revenue, I don't know whether that is significant. So I mean, the short point is I'm not really positive on Z, and I think let's wait and see how the Sony merger progresses.
Absolutely. So there could be a delay on that front as well, because 9th March was supposed to be the hearing earlier. Moving on from the metal pack, how are you seeing a Hind Zinc as well as a Vedanta? Because metals have been trading under pressure. In between, there were bouts of positivity that were seen as well, but not really, a trend that we are able to get in terms of metal names.
Yeah, I think there are two pieces of bad news for this play. One is, of course, what you said, that we've not really seen metal prices having the best time, and a lot of the fluctuation is happening because of the kind of news flow we get from China and globally. Because I think this is one sector that completely reacts to what is in complete sync with what news you're getting globally. It is not so much of what is happening on the domestic front and the demand and supply here and or the prices here. So it's more to do with what is happening globally, and from there the news flow has not been the best. And then again, I think for Vedanta and Hindustan Zinc, this whole issue of them trying to sell their zinc assets to Hindustan Zinc and how it has come under the lens, etc. And honestly, I think that there have been a couple of times over the last 10-15 years where we've seen these kind of moves from Vedanta, where they really sort of tried to like what happened with the Kane merger, for instance. So I'm not actually I've never really been a buyer in Vedanta. Of course, I think from a dividend yield perspective, that has played out as a good stock for investors over the last couple of years, maybe. But honestly, I prefer the other metal play. So I would be completely out of. I mean, let's watch how this story develops as to how that transfer of assets is going to happen, whether they're going to be able to raise funds, etc. But I would steer clear for the time being.
Right. Moving on in terms of L&T, that stock is in focus as well. A good up move that we've seen in today's session in terms of opening trade. But if you see from the last 1 year performance as well, a 31% up move has already come in on the counter. And overall, they have backed contracts worth around 3,100 odd crores for supply of 3 cadet training sets from the Defense Ministry. What's your view on a L&T from a valuation perspective? Do you think a good stock to enter at current levels as well?
I think so. Maybe you should try and buy on dips because that's really more to do with how the market is behaving. But overall, I think this is a good space to be in and a good stock to be in because we have seen that in this budget there have been certain moves that seem to have opened up more sort of capital expenditure coming the way of these companies. And obviously, I think in that list, Larsen will find its name because it is the largest player. Their order book is strong. I think the pressure on them is a good pressure of really the execution part of the book. So that's always a good space to be in. So I am positive on the stock. As a disclosure, I do hold the stock. But yeah, I think that, as I said, try and be a little circumspect, try and buy it on dips, but it's a good stock to be in.
Right. Moving on, Sharmila, sugar names are in focus in today's session. In fact, India probably could export an additional 1 million ton of sugar if the domestic output reaches an estimated of around 33.6 million tons this year. And that is what has come in from the ministry as well. And next month is when the government will actually take a call in allowing more quantities. Taking this into consideration, the entire pack is up in trade. What would your favorite picks be? Because this is one sector which is now in a sweet spot after many years in the last 2 to 3 years.
Yes, I think all commodities have their cycles, and we've seen sugar go through its cycle. And I think the only sort of negative that I personally feel where you are talking of commodity plays like a sugar or maybe even an oil is the fact that somewhere your prices are not allowed to go up too much because there is some kind of political intervention that comes in, given the fact that we ourselves are such great consumers of sugar. Having said that, I think the point precisely at this point why you should look favorably towards sugar as a place, the fact that we seem to be having a good production, and that means that we will be able to export more, and export prices are supportive at this point in time. So yes, I think that for the time being, one can be positive on the space. Let's, of course, always I think you need to keep a lookout for how prices are moving and how the government is likely to react to. They're not going to allow a runaway rise in prices. This is what I'm trying to say. So having said that, I think a stock like a Balrampur Chini is something that you can look at.
Right, so that comes in as a topic from the sugar pack as well. Thank you so much, Sharmila, for joining us on the show and giving us the views on the movers and shakers of trade today. Thank you. Stay safe and speak to you soon again.